Okay, so I'm just doing some quick preliminary recording tests for the A.lav going into my Sony, and however this sounds, I think this is going to be, however this sounds right now, this should sound like this for any kind of small Sony, or indeed any decent small camera that's got a 3.5mm input that records to PCM as well, because right now I'm recording uncompressed, so this is going to be the best possible quality I could get out of it. Now also it's a bit breezy. I may try the what's name, the wind filter that comes with it, just for a little test of that as well. But just the thing worth noting right now, the way I've got it plugged in is that I am not using its own power supply, so this is going straight into the Sony, and the Sony is powering the microphone with its own electrit voltage. Now the only problem with this is that it's only recording on one side. I don't know if it's like only on the left, but what it is, when I get into post, I'll just rebalance that back into the middle. Now what it is, the A.lav has actually got a 3-pole output, so in effect it's using a stereo 3.5mm jack. Now usually, obviously it's only a mono mic, but usually when something uses a 3-pole mic cable like that from a mono source, what it's doing, it's normalizing or shorting the actual live to both the left and the right, in which case it would then record equally onto the left and the right, or 1 and 2 channels on any stereo device where it's being inputted to. For some reason this actually isn't wired to both. Now I've got a feeling that that is to help it identify itself when it plugs into its own power supply. So I think what it is, the missing live element off one of the poles is what triggers the power supply, and it knows that it's got the A.lav plugged in, because it's not a physical switch that switches the supply on, it's the microphone itself. And I know that because I've tried plugging a couple of other lavs in, and the supply wouldn't switch on. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so this configuration, and it's on input 3 on the Sony. So when I flip over to the next test or the next input, I'll leave it on input 3 again. So once again, this is the A.lav going straight into the Sony on input 3. Okay, so now what I've done, I'm just checking me levels and whatnot. I've got the A.lav now plugged into its own power supply, and then its power supply going straight into the Sony. The other thing is, let's see, I don't know, I don't know if it's just psychological, but the level doesn't look quite as strong. I've still left it on like the 3rd notch up on Sony's spurious measurement system for like attenuation. Why they don't call it -60 or -20 and mark it properly, I don't know. And that said as well, the volume level, the indicator, what they use on the camera is terrible as well. It's a fantastic camera, it sounds brilliant, and the picture's awesome, but some of these little things that you just think, why have they done it that way? I mean, that does make it look domestic, you know, or like low-end domestic at that, when it's an absolutely a gorgeous picture. It's a proper professional picture. Why do Sony do these things? Yeah, so anyway, stop ranting to yourself, Dave, it's just crazy. Yeah, but although it'll give me something to listen to when I get back in for doing my testing. So once again, it's going through its power supply and in. I think what I'll do, there is a little bit of a breeze, so what I'll do the same configuration now with the wind muff on and try that. In fact, you know what, I think I've brought out one of my older cheap lavs as well, so I'll throw that in as like a 4th example as well. Okay, so I've switched over now to A.lav's wind filter, and it would appear that A.lav have kind of like gone for the design award for the most stealthy wind filter ever made. I mean, look at it, can you notice it? Is it blending in? Is it blending in with the scenery? I don't think so. Right, yeah, anyway, funny enough, that's about the worst thing in the entire package. I think the package is amazing, all the stuff that comes with it, but the wind filter's mad. Anyway, there's a little bit of a breeze. I don't know whether or not it may even be the case that the breeze that I've got here at the moment was dealt with anyway with the A.lav with its foam on, so that might have been okay anyway. Yeah, so that's about it. But the one thing that I can test with this, even if I haven't got enough wind to test the filter, is to see about the change in tonality, because you know, inevitably, you know, there are certain changes when you use certain things, some worse than others. I mean, I've got a couple of dead cats which absolutely just knock out all the high end, and I have to go re-EQing in post. But, you know, in a scenario where it means saving some dialogue, you've got no option but to do that. But wherever possible, you know, I'd like it as transparent as possible with the filter on. So again, this, yeah, it is a bit breezy, maybe not enough to tax it, but I can test for EQ on this one anyway. So now I'll get on with another thing. Okay, and just to give yourself a little bit of a comparison, this mic I've got on here, this is the thing I bought about a year and a half ago, and this is brilliant. I think I bought this for £8. And it's similar to the A.lav in the fact that it came with a power supply, although I don't need to use the power supply because the Sony actually obviously is powering it as well, because this again is an electrit. The only thing I did, it was I cut the end off and then kind of put a stereo 3.5 on, and then just like normalized left to right on it, just so I didn't have to go rebalance and back in post. And sometimes when you get microphones with a specific power supply, sometimes that power supply isn't just powering, there's some kind of active circuitry inside them sometimes, and some of that is maybe impedance balancing or matching and things like that, because sometimes, you know, they might buy a capsule which might just be a certain type of capsule of a certain impedance, but they might want to take it to, say, I don't know, say 200 or 600, so there could be active you know, active electronics inside the power supplies in order to do that. But what I found during my tests with this particular mic was that it kind of like there was nothing being impeded, as it were, nothing to do with impedance though, but there was no difference between it going straight in the Sony or being powered by its own power supply. So yeah, I just left it now in a configuration without its power supply. And to be honest as well, I've put it up against some of the the Sennheisers as well, and in certain instances it was actually better than the Sennheisers. I mean, the Sennheiser head for the K6 module as well, I'm sure that this was better. I think the Sennheiser was a little bit more sensitive, bit more kind of like top end to it, but this was fantastic. So you know, I'd like to see how this stacks up against the A.lav. I mean, me personally, I'll still always use this mic because I think it's great, but that's if I need to use lavs. Personally, I don't normally use lavs. I just think they're a bit too invasive, do you know what I mean? Especially when you're with children or females and stuff, do you know what I mean? You know, it's a little bit, you know, you don't want to be freaking people out. You know, it's different if you've got actors and things like that, or talent. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just blabbering on to myself here. So this is probably going to be enough now. And oh yeah, and again, didn't alter the inputs at the same input level. In fact, what I'm going to do in post, regardless of how they come out in post, whether some are louder than the other, I'm going to leave more flat. So they're just going to go straight in and straight out, no messing around. The only alteration in post I'm going to do is with the first take on the A.lav, because I'm going to have to rebalance and center that one, because it did only record to one channel. Okay, so what I'll do now, yeah, I know, I'll get on with my count test, then my silence test, and then job done for testing this. I mean, I'm hoping all this sounds pretty cool, and it's a good reason for doing it, a proper video on the A.lav for the Sony, or well, for camcorders in general. Oh yeah, and while I'm at it as well, I've actually got one of them really nasty cheap 99p lavs. Although I've actually found 2 or 3 really good lavs for like less than £3. This is a really nasty 99p one, or normally it's nasty, but what it is, I've actually just found these cool little adapters, and basically what they are, they're a 3.5mm adapter. So what they do, they take a mono 3.5mm in, and then they normalize it to the left and right stereo out. Although I'm not recording stereo, it's monophonic, it just places the mic dead center, and that actually will help me in instances where I don't want to go butchering cables and then having to rewire and just put new sockets on, especially for instances like, say, an A.lav, for instance, because that is only coming out as like single pole on the output. So in instances like that, these little sockets are going to be really cool. Anyway, so this is just another little test for me. Again, on level 3, I don't expect it to sound that good, and I can't see that putting this adapter on will make any tonal change to it whatsoever. It should just be balancing it dead center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,